Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. I am your host, TK, and this is Black Equity Talk. And here we talk about issues and topics related to the health and wealth of Black people in America and abroad. So today I have a very special guest. Her name is Altovise, and she is a podcast host. She's an author, a small business trainer. She has a very long, impressive, extensive resume. So Altovise, please, thank you so much for coming. Would you like to say anything that I may have missed in your intro?
Hey guys, so Altovise Pelzer here, your voice manager. I unmute the voice of women who are ready to speak up about what has kept her silent for way too long. Host of the #SpeakEasy podcast and a magnetic introvert. That is who I am.
That is what drew me to you. And you know what? I did have some music because I know you like to start with music in your live. So I downloaded some music. Hopefully we can hear this. Can you hear it? Okay. That was a little bit of royalty-free music, so but I like that beat though. So you are an introvert, self-proclaimed magnetic introvert. What does that mean?
So that means that even though I know my temperament, I'm an introvert, I use it to my advantage. One of the things that I've found in business, especially as a woman, is that the things that they tell us are bad, or the things that they tell us are bad attributes to have in business are not necessarily bad attributes to have in business. It's just you got to learn how to utilize them and maximize, who it is that you are. I know that being an introvert, I'm not going to be the loudest one in the room sometimes, but I know that the conversations I have really are significant and they change things. I know that I am not always the one who's at the front of the room. Introverts, listen, we be at the back table so we can make an easy exit. But I also know that knowing that, I go and I make connections before I even get in the room. So I draw people to me to want to have conversations with me in a few different ways. And so that's something that I've had to learn how to do in order for me to be able to connect with potential guests for the podcast or clients, or even to just communities that really resonate with who I am.
That is very smart that you take that initiative to do some pre-work before, because I know as an introvert, I'm an introvert as well. And that is so important because it kind of just takes away some of that, overthinking about things and just going out and just doing what we need to do in order to get the results, because we still have a voice, we still have lots of wonderful, great things to say and offer, but it's kind of sometimes getting out of your head that kind of can just be that barrier. And as an introvert, there sometimes, I should say, my emotions, like what I'm thinking, I do not say it. It stays in my head, it's there, and it doesn't go anywhere after that. And even my facial expressions, it's just flat, even though on the inside I'm like, oh my goodness, and so excited, but it doesn't come through on my face because I'm thinking, oh, is this coming across as fake or phony? Did you ever experience that? And how do you kind of handle that thought of being a fraud or something like that?
One of the things that I say when it comes to introverts is we are the ones that measure 9 times to cut once. So before we say something, before we act on something, before we show up for something, we're like calculating this full blown out production in our head of how it is going to happen, what's going to be the good, the bad, the ugly if we do this. And so extroverts, they don't have that thought process. They just go and do. And introverts were like, but if we do this, then they may do this, or they can do this. And so that was one of the things that stopped me dead in my tracks in the beginning, when I rebranded in 2016, because I was like, okay, I put it out a little bit, then I come back a little bit. Like you're not 100% in it. And so I had to kind of create some techniques for myself to be able to say, okay, when something I know is something I need to do, somebody I need to connect with, what are going to be my ways that I can push through that measure 9 times and cut once? And for me, it meant not to not measure, but it meant cutting down on how I measure. So part of it is I have a mentor that I talk to once a week, and I break down everything that I'm doing, because that keeps me from keeping it in my head, writing things down. I am huge when it comes to writing things down on index cards. Oh, yeah. Now, this is a thing that I've been teaching my clients for years, but I write things down on index cards. So when I implement on it, I can rip it up and toss it. Oh. So if you got a bunch of index cards, you're not getting any work done. And you need to have some time where you just sit down and go through those index cards and do whatever needs to be done on them, check things off and rip them up and throw them out. It gives you a sense of pride because you've completed some things. And we know that when you complete something, it also builds momentum. It pushes you to want to complete the next task. So for me, to get out of my head and get things done, I had to go ahead and instill those 2 principles, having that mentor and writing things down on a consistent basis in order for me to say, you know what, we got to show up, and we got to show up 100%.
Wow, that is awesome. And I've never thought about doing the ripping it up and throwing it out. And that's kind of like, okay, it's done. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to overanalyze it. It's done, and let's move on. So that's an awesome tip. I love that. And having a mentor, that I think everybody in every stage of life really should have a mentor. We all have things that, we should develop, and other people may have the answers, or maybe a roadmap or something that we haven't considered, or even just looking at it from a more objective standing, instead of, I know I'm one who is hard on myself, and someone may be like, no, you're fine, don't worry about it. So having someone else with a sound voice that can help you get through that, those are really good tips. So as far as being a Black woman and an introvert, do you find in any settings that is something that, may come across a different way, that people may assume it's, you're being reserved for other reasons, or how does that affect you in different spaces?
So what I had to find, especially within the podcasting space, was when I show up into a room. First of all, as a Black woman, there wasn't that many other Black women podcasting. So when you show up into a room, you're one of the minority, not the majority. Then when you come in, there are already alliances in the group. So as an introvert, it completely was a struggle, because you're trying to find ways to connect with people. You're trying to find ways, but as an introvert, you don't really want to connect with everybody. Right. You just want to make some significant connections. And I found myself really in spaces where there was always people that didn't look like me, and they would try to overtalk me. They would try to shut down what I was saying. It was just part of, this kind of unwritten rule that was okay. And I, even though I'm an introvert, sis was born and raised in Philadelphia. So don't let the smooth taste fool you. Right. Sis was born and raised in Philadelphia. And I it's only so much that you're going to push that you're not going to get pushed back. And so what I had to find myself doing was saying, it's either I'm going to let it build and I'm going to explode, and folks is going to be like, what just happened? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or I had to find a healthy way to handle it. So I had to find literally healthy ways to respond to people, healthy ways for me to be able to shut a conversation down. If I was done with the conversation, you're not going to keep going just because that's what you feel as though you want to do. And it's worked for me. If I don't want to talk about something, I'm not going to talk about it. If I'm going to, and I attribute it, even thinking about, we have all dealt with this. How many of you have dealt with one of those really overbearing people that's calling to get money from you over the phone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they pull out every stop. They talk about your pinky toe probably needs to be shaved. Like, they talk about everything and try to pull everything out. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I had to learn and put into practice was to take the emotion out of it. Mm. If I take the emotion out of it, all you're saying is words that don't even affect me, that don't even pertain to me.
Right, right.
And if I take the emotion out of it, I can respond to you just as calmly and still get my point across. And when I'm done, I'm done. I'm done. And I think about Clubhouse, where we talk about, this is a such and such, and I'm done speaking. When I'm done speaking, I'm done speaking. And I had people who they're standing there and they're still talking, and I'm just staring at you. At this point, you're talking to a wall.
Right. I'm gone. I'm not here anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a healthy tool that I had to use for me in life and in business.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's been as a single mother, African-American single mother, Black woman that is a single mother, as a Black woman that is building a business, as a single mother. I've been told, oh, you should be trying to find a father for your children. I've been told, oh, I've gotten off stage after doing an event and had someone say, oh, well, you need a waist trainer. Oh. I've had some of the worst things come out people's mouths, and they felt comfortable enough to say it, but they never said it to me again.
And I like that. It's like you're establishing a boundary and you're saying, okay, you crossed the boundary and you need to go back on that other side of it. And that's important, like you said, in your personal life and business. And that, I think that's something that we all should definitely stand strong on, our personal boundaries, because that affects us. Like, you don't want to put the emotions into it. You don't want to take things personally, cutting all of that out and just sticking to, kind of what introverts probably do most of the time anyway, is being logical. Like, okay, let me remove all of this extra and let me remember who I am, where I come from, and let's stick to what's important in this conversation. So absolutely. Okay. So you mentioned that you are a single mother and you have you've been kind of vocal about your past, being homeless and going through abuse. How has your background and really prepared you for where you are, being a business owner today and being a podcast host? Like, how did all of that prepare you for where you are today?
I would have to say that what I've gone through put me in a state of, if I can get through this, I can get through anything. Mm-hmm. And so it was interesting because in 2015, it was after a conversation with my oldest daughter that the first time I ever said that I had been molested as a child. And it was that moment, we cried, we held hands, and I was just like, you know what, enough is enough. I'm going to go ahead and make some significant changes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rebrand myself. I'm going to rebrand the business. I'm going to be the face of the brand. All of these amazing things. As an introvert, I don't know where that's coming from, but I did make those statements. And so I said 2016 was going to be my year. New year, new me, right? Mm-hmm. And December 31st of 2015, I was evicted from my home. And I said, but the next day, I'm supposed to be new year, new me. This is not the new me that I wanted. This is not the new me that I was looking for. And so I had a decision to make. I had already planned a flight for that day. And I said, do I take this flight or do I have my pity party? Do I go through and have that moment of saying, oh, what was me? Nothing ever good. No, nothing good ever happens for me. Everything always falls apart. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take this flight. And it shifted everything for me. First flight, no problem. Second flight, I go and I look at my ticket and there's no group number in my ticket. Now, for all of you listening in, I am a creative and an introvert. I stay in my head far too much. So in my mind, I'm going to be arrested. It's a fake ticket. I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. But I go over, I let them know, hey, there's no group number on my ticket. They said, oh, no problem. Just go in with group 2. I said, okay, great. I go in with group 2. They call us, we're in line. And then my name is called over the loudspeaker. I'm going to jail. I think I'm going to jail. I'm looking outside to see if like TSA is like projecting down from the helicopter, or, you know, if they're coming through the airport with one of the carts. And I get over to the booth and she hands me a brand new ticket that's first class.
Oh. Wow.
That shifted everything for me, because if I can push through while being homeless and be upgraded to first class, then I never knew what was ahead. I never knew what was going to be on the other side of my obedience to take that next step. And I think as women in business, we get to a point where things are happening around us and we allow ourselves to get stuck in what's happening. We got to allow ourselves to get stuck there. You know, they talk about if you're going through hell, keep going.
Right.
Keep going.
Right.
And so we get stuck because our current circumstances tend to dictate our future success. That's how we think. Yeah. Is that if where I am right now is dictating where I will be, and that's not the truth.
Right.
And that moment, that was what shifted for me, because my current circumstance did not have to dictate where I was going or where I would be. And that year, I not only published my first book, I published my first 4. And since then, I published 19, because I never know what's going to be on the other side of my yes. I never know what's going to be. If I'm just obedient to what I need to do, then what's going to be on the other side of that, I never know. I may wake up tomorrow and Michelle Obama is like, come on, let's do lunch. And I'm like, yeah, Michelle,
okay. Right, right.
But it's all because of that continuous motion. And we think about it like this. When we think about a car that sits still and does not move is not doing what it was intended to do. And so more damage is being caused because it is sitting still than if you would have gotten it and just drove. I know we're fearful of the accidents, we're fearful of all these things, but if you leave it sitting, you're causing it to rush, you're causing it to deteriorate. Same thing with a plane. A plane is supposed to be in the air. If it's not on the air, it's going against what it is supposed to be doing. Now, in the air, you're going to go deal with animals that are flying. We didn't heard about some birds that didn't get caught up. You're going to deal with turbulence. You're going to deal with that. The turbulence will happen. But here's the thing. When you are in the plane as a pilot, you have learned and been trained how to handle the turbulence. The turbulence does not go away. So I'm either going to learn how to fly above it or live below it, but it's not going anywhere.
Right, right.
That's awesome. So I have to learn that.
Yeah, that is a wonderful analogy. I love that. That's just very powerful. I'm going to keep that with me in my database in my head when I'm thinking, overthinking. That's going to be the analogy I pull out. That was wonderful. So you have I Am Unmuted and what is it? World Voice Summits. Can you tell us about those?
So it is, so the name of my company is World Voice League LLC. I absolutely love the company. And what it has done is put me in a position to work with women, women who would normally be silent, women who would normally be behind the scenes, women who would normally, kind of shelter in place, right? When it comes to their dreams and purpose and goal. And I was able to take the duct tape off of their mouths and to be able to say, no, your story is valuable and it can be the cornerstone of you being successful. And so from women who have been through divorce, women who have been through domestic violence, women who have been through homelessness, no matter where it is that you've, kind of found yourself treading water, there's a story to tell. And that story can help somebody else. And so when it became, it has blossomed into I Am Unmuted, where that's what it is. I want women and teens to be able to walk around and be unmuted. I want them to be able to share their messages. I want them to be able to attain the things that other people may have told them that they couldn't attain. They couldn't reach that level. And so I take women through this journey of not only finding out who it is that you're speaking to, but crafting programs and services and products around who that person is, and being able to clearly share your message. And that may be in a book, it may be on a podcast interview, it may be getting on a stage in front of 5 or 5,000. But I make sure that when you step away from me, there is a boldness and a confidence about you that it just seeps out of your pores anytime you show up in the room. I've watched women go from being in a 30-year domestic violent marriage and crying in the middle of the street after an interview to being in the room with the police and creating programs and being a liaison for women who are in domestic violent relationships. I've seen women go and tell their story and then help other women get out of their domestic violent relationships. Like, you get to see the ripple effect. And it's like it started with this whole process of us just meeting every Saturday. Like, that was where it started. A group of women coming together, different levels of business, and just being very transparent and saying what is working, what is not working, and being held accountable, having their butt held to the flame so they could get some things done. And one of the most valuable things for me has been seeing these women get up and tell their story, seeing these women go and make the connections they needed to make. And then even taking it a step further to, them going and then helping the next generation of people and supporting them. Like, that is valuable for me. I would not change anything for that.
Yes, that is so important. What is our legacy? That, what are we leaving to the next generation? Because we're leaving something, and we should hopefully let it be something good and empowering, something that they can keep the torch going and not anything that's taken away from them. So yeah, I love that. That's one thing I ask every person on the show, and we can probably just put it here. What is your favorite wealth building activity? Because I'm really big into generational wealth and passing things on. So what would be your favorite wealth building activity?
Intellectual property. So I learned, I'm gonna show you how to make a circle, make a square. It's so many times we've been told that the information we know, the experiences we have had, are to be hushed. They're not to be talked about. I used to describe it as it being the box with the bow on it that's sitting on the mantle. Everybody sees it, knows it's there, but nobody wants to discuss what's really on the inside of it. And so we don't know if that box on the mantle can help us or if it's hurting us. We don't know because nobody wants to talk about it. So taking your intellectual property, your information, your wisdom, your experience, as no matter what it is, and using that as a product or service.
Yes.
It's been so significant. I've watched women go and make journals and books, courses, all on the foundation of what it is that they have already experienced. Something that has made a big shift within the last few years is that it's time out for us listening to people that have not experienced what we've experienced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it. There are people that, they can, they tell you that they have 6 and 7 and 8 figures behind, in the bank account, and that's cute. But can you really speak to where I am?
Right.
Can you really speak to what it felt like in that moment? Can you really speak to what it means to create? Like this, creating a business for me was so much more than just having some extra income coming in. And I love seeing the process as people are making that transition, because now we're not just signing up for everything and anything. We're not just going and chasing down the next shiny object. We're actually going and being very deliberate about where we are investing our money, our time, and our energy. And even when I think about the community that I serve, one of the commitments that I said to them is that they would no longer waste time, energy, and money.
Mm.
And in order for them to not waste time, energy, and money, that meant we had to be very transparent about where we were, transparent about what we need, and that it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, in that transparency, in those conversations, they've not gone and signed up for this program and that program. They've gone and shared books with each other and just shipped books to each other. They've gone and met up with each other. And something in our accountability community that we have is called a power hour, where they'll put it in our chat and say, hey, I need a power hour. And one of the other people in the community will say, well, let's hop on Zoom. And they'll go whatever you need in that hour. So if it's an idea you're trying to hash out, if it's a speech you're trying to kind of cultivate, whatever you need in that hour is there for you, which is completely different, because somewhere else they would charge you for that, even if you're already in the community.
Right. You're right about that.
Everybody's trying to upsell you on things. And I tell people that we don't need to spend and waste money like that. And a lot of times we can't even tell how much money we're making because we're putting out so much money. Like I've been in communities where I'm serving in the community, I'm on the team, I'm a paid member of the team, but the money I'm getting paid is going right back into the coach. If I speak on your stage, I'm not only paying to speak on your stage, paying to stay at the same house, paying for my food and travel, but then I also got to give you 20% when I'm on stage of what I make.
Wow.
So then how am I building my, legacy? How am I building for my business and for my family? I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm recycling what you're giving me.
Yeah.
And so I found that there were a lot of women, and this is it's funny because there's not a lot of people that will talk about this, but it's happening, and it's leading to Coach Hurt, is leading to women, building a business and still not making any money from it. It's leading to people getting burnt out, shutting their businesses. Like 2020 really did a job on us, but it showed you the cracks in your foundation. And sometimes the cracks in your foundation was, what community were you really connected to?
Wow, that's powerful. And there are statistics that say Black women create the most businesses each year. But if we're not really being able to sustain these businesses, then that's not helping pass on generational wealth like the goal is. So that is very important. Like, everybody should be able to, I guess, profit from their work and from their intellectual property. And, having someone, just one person getting rich and everyone else struggling, like that's not really the goal of most people, I don't think, unless you're the person at the top and you don't really care about the rest of the people. But yeah, that is you're right. A lot of people don't talk about that. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's very, very impactful for a lot of women that are running households, and they need to be able to take care of their families. So how would someone get in contact with you and become a part of your community?
I'm glad you asked. They can connect with me at the website www.iamunmuted.com. Check it out. You can definitely send me an email from the website. You can connect with me there. You can see what we have going on. But if you're saying, you know what, I just want to see a little bit more of what she's doing first, connect with me on Instagram at Altovise Unmuted. Altovise Unmuted on Instagram. DM me, send me a message, let me know that you heard me on this show, because I definitely want to shout you out for listening in and share you out. But I think now is the time for us to get connected to some people that really want to see us successful. And man, I tell people, I don't know it all. Trust and believe. And if I don't, I'm going to put you in the direction of the person that do. But we're not going to allow you to keep, just being out in the open.
Right.
No no. We're not doing that no more.
I love that. And you talked about, yourself in a very positive way. I love that. And I just want to make sure people know you're not just boasting, like you really are this dynamic. I've watched your lives. I've watched you on YouTube and on Instagram and Facebook. And I was just blown away. And just the fact that you have just overcome so much and pushed through, and you're still helping other people. Like you're the type of person that we really should celebrate and put, all of our love and flowers and energy to, because you are just wonderful. You are absolutely wonderful. And you also, can you tell us about your podcast? Because I definitely would love to hear your voice more often. So where can we hear your podcast?
Yeah. You go to bit.ly/speakeasy unmuted. It'll take you to the website and you can catch the podcast. We are on all podcasting platforms at the #SpeakEasy podcast. Great interviews. I've had the pleasure of speaking to the founder of Zero Shoes and 6- and 7-figure earning entrepreneurs and pastors, just people from all over. And I love it because it's an international community. Anybody who may be listening in from India, because I always share out the episodes where I'm on, because India is actually second when it comes to who listens into the #. So shout out to all of those over in India. I think it's in like 5 different places that they're listening and downloading. So I appreciate the love and support. Those of you who are listening in here, I would love for you to make sure that you not only come and listen in, but guys, share it out. One of the things that us as podcasters, the way that we can measure that we're bringing you something of value is that you share it out. So share out the episode, send it to a couple people and say, hey, listen in. This is something that can, motivate you, inspire you. But then I always tell people, go back to the podcast host and shout them out. Just give them a thank you. Because we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes as podcasters. And there's a lot that we may deal with that you'll never see and never know. But it means a lot to show up and give the value that we give. And so thank you for showing up continuously and giving the value that you give. It means more than you will ever know. And there may be somebody who listens to one of your shows 3-4 years down the line, and they're like, wow, I'm glad they did that episode 3 years ago. So I appreciate you.
Wow, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And like you said, a thank you, a like, a subscribe, it goes so far. So please subscribe to this channel, Black Equity Talk. Give us a like, comment, let us know what your favorite part of this show was. I'm going to have all of Altovise's Instagram and social media and everything that you can reach her in the description box. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.